Chapter 1. The First Encounter. It was a beautiful day in the city of London. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers. Emily was walking down the street, lost in her thoughts, when she bumped into a tall, handsome stranger. "Excuse me," she said, blushing. "It's all right," he replied with a smile. They started talking and soon discovered that they had a lot in common. They both loved reading, traveling, and trying new foods. They exchanged phone numbers and promised to meet again. Chapter 2. The First Date. A few days later, they went on their first date. They decided to go to a cozy little cafe in the heart of the city. They talked for hours, laughing and sharing stories. Emily felt like she had known him forever. As they walked out of the cafe, he took her hand and looked into her eyes. "I had a great time," he said. "Would you like to do this again sometime?" Emily smiled and nodded. "I'd love to." Chapter 3. The First Kiss. Their second date was even better than the first. They went to a fancy restaurant and enjoyed a delicious meal. As they walked back to his car, he stopped and turned to her. "Emily, I know we've only known each other for a short time, but I feel like I've known you forever. I don't want to rush things, but I can't help the way I feel." He leaned in and kissed her softly on the lips. Emily felt her heart skip a beat. She knew that she was falling for him. Chapter 4. The First Fight. As their relationship progressed, they started to have disagreements. They argued about everything from politics to music to what to watch on TV. Emily was worried that they were drifting apart. One day, they had a big fight. Emily stormed out of the house, feeling angry and hurt. She didn't know what to do. But then she realized that she loved him too much to let him go. She went back to his house, and they talked things out. They apologized to each other and promised to work on their communication. Chapter 5. The First I Love You. Months went by, and their relationship grew stronger. They went on trips together, met each other's families, and shared their hopes and dreams. One day, as they were lying in bed, he turned to her and said, "Emily, I love you." Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I love you too," she said. They hugged each other tightly, knowing that they had found something special. Chapter 6. The Proposal. Years went by, and they knew that they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. He took her to the same cafe where they had their first date and got down on one knee. "Emily, I love you more than anything in this world. Will you marry me?" Emily felt tears streaming down her face. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I will." They hugged each other tightly, knowing that they had found their happily ever after. Chapter 7. The Wedding. Emily and her fiancé spent months planning their dream wedding. They wanted it to be perfect, and they spared no expense. They chose a beautiful venue in the countryside, hired the best caterers and florists, and invited all their friends and family. On the day of the wedding, Emily was nervous but excited. She put on her beautiful white dress and walked down the aisle, her eyes fixed on her fiancé. He looked handsome in his suit, and his eyes were filled with love. The ceremony was beautiful, and Emily felt like she was in a fairy tale. They exchanged vows, rings, and kisses, and then they were pronounced husband and wife. The reception was even better than the ceremony. They danced, laughed, and ate delicious food. Emily felt like she was on top of the world. As the night drew to a close, Emily and her husband left the venue and drove off into the night. They were finally alone, and they knew that they had found their happily ever after. Chapter 8. The Honeymoon. After the wedding, Emily and her husband went on a romantic honeymoon to Hawaii. They stayed in a luxurious resort where they enjoyed the sun, sand, and sea. They went on long walks on the beach, swam in the crystal clear waters, and watched the sunset every evening. They also went on a helicopter tour of the island, where they saw breathtaking views of the mountains and the ocean. Emily felt like she was living in a dream. She was so happy to be with her husband, and she knew that she had made the right choice. Chapter 9. The First Home. When they returned from their honeymoon, Emily and her husband moved into their first home together. It was a cozy little house in the suburbs, with a beautiful garden and a white picket fence. They spent weeks decorating the house, choosing furniture, and making it their own. Emily loved every minute of it. She felt like she was building a life with the man she loved. Chapter 10. The First Child. Years went by, and Emily and her husband decided that they wanted to start a family. They tried for months, and finally, Emily found out that she was pregnant. She was overjoyed. She couldn't wait to hold her baby in her arms and watch him grow up. She and her husband spent months preparing for the baby's arrival, buying clothes, toys, and furniture. Finally, the day arrived. Emily went into labor, and her husband rushed her to the hospital. After hours of pain and hard work, Emily gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. She held him in her arms, tears streaming down her face. She knew that her life would never be the same again.